So there's been a lot of really bizarre information about what's been shot down over the last few days by the U.S. military. Top U.S. General Glenn Van Herk saying he's not ruling out possible extraterrestrial activity, which is no longer a bizarre, outlandish claim after our own military pilots reported on 60 Minutes, you remember the interview, that they've encountered bizarre aircraft that make no physical sense. Propulsion that they can't explain. That was a story that was on 60 Minutes. Today, our chief White House correspondent, James Rosen, asked the Pentagon if this was a legitimate possibility. We got the answer we expected. Here it was.
Top officials at the Pentagon, when asked explicitly if they were ruling out any kind of extraterrestrial presence, said they weren't ruling anything out. And yet at the beginning of today's briefing, albeit with her usual winning smile, Ms. Jean-Pierre seemed to rule out any extraterrestrial activity.
I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft, period.
Okay, so the Pentagon's going to say stuff like that. You know, this is the government, just like they tell you it's safe to go to Eastern Ohio. But if you look at how these objects were described by the U.S. and Canadian government, it does kind of make you wonder for a second. The flying object over Alaska was described as the size of a small car. Over Canada, it was more like a cylinder. And then the object over Lake Huron was described as like an octagon with strings, but no discernible payload. It's also being reported the F-22 pilots who took down the flying object over Alaska say it interfered with their sensors and had no propulsion system. But at the same time, it didn't really look like a balloon. So how was it flying? Not knowing how long it could possibly stay in the air, they did what they did. They shot it down, and there were allegedly no features that would indicate surveillance equipment either. So whenever we talk about UFOs, which whether or not they're aliens, we don't know, but it's definitely a UFO because it's unidentified. Whenever we talk about UFOs, we talk to Jeremy Corbell, a filmmaker and expert on the matter. Jeremy, it's good to have you back on. You're following this like everybody else. What's your theory here?
Yeah, I don't need to have theories, Rob. I mean, it's amazing to me, honestly. The biggest lapse of intelligence here is that journalists get better briefings than Congress and Senate.
Right.
If you look at the history of what we've done together on your show, is I've provided to you footage, military filmed footage that the Pentagon didn't have. With my mentor in journalism, George Knapp, we put it out to the world. There is a true problem of misidentification now over our country, right? Recently, George Knapp and I released something called the Mosul Orb. And what's so important is that's the first UFO, unidentified flying object, but now they call them UAP, which is unidentified anomalous phenomena. Great. We all agree on the term. Something is in our airspace, flying with impunity, and that can outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform what we have. Right. I don't care where it's from. This is an intelligence issue and an intelligence gap. And right now, small-time journalists are bringing that information forward. Right. And I hope other people pick up the baton.
And we don't know. Obviously, we're talking about what I just spoke about, which was the phenomena that we're seeing by some of our best military pilots. Say they're seeing things that are flying in ways they don't understand, that propulsion that they've never seen exist, and how is it there? I don't know that these objects we're talking about right now are part of that, but they could be.
No, so that's the thing. I'm looking at this as somebody who's looked at this throughout history, who seems to get better briefings than Congress and Senate. And I'm telling you that what we're seeing is theater right now. There's a real issue, and the pilots will tell you. Get the pilots on. Yeah. They know what a balloon is. They know a propulsion system when they see one. That's thermal that I released to the world with George Knapp that you're showing right now on your screen that the Pentagon didn't have. So this is the gap we're trying to close. There are unidentifieds, call them UAP, wherever they are from. We need to know the origin, intent, and capability. And if we don't know that, then we're going to be doing things like shooting things out of the sky that we don't even know if they're manned or unmanned over our own territories. So of course there is a surveillance problem, but these surveillance balloons have been around for decades. So Rob, I'm asking you, do you think that this is a new thing that we're seeing, or do you think we're just shooting more things in our skies?
I think we're shooting more things in our sky. That's what I think.
You're right.
That's for sure. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on, as always. It's always a good conversation, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, I got my new show, Weaponized Podcast, and I'm telling you, because we are breaking news every time we do it. So pay attention.
I'm paying attention. I am. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next time.